Welcome to the Texas PTA Principals Training. I am Julie Cluthy, and I am here with Tim Greenwell, who is principal at Liberty Elementary School in Louisville ISD, and who has served on PTA boards at the local level, as well as the district level and the state level. And along with him is Marissa Nightingale, PTA president, also at Liberty Elementary School. The principal is a vital and valued part of every local PTA board. And so we want to thank all of you principals for everything you do for PTA and for our students. All PTA board members, including principals, are required to take training, and listening to this recording fulfills that requirement for principals. When you have finished, be sure to give your certificate of completion to your PTA's secretary. We also encourage you to attend Launch, our annual summer meeting and training session. If any member of your campus PTA attends Launch, the principal can attend for free. I'll start with a brief overview of PTA and then dive into the conversation with Tim and Marissa. The Parent Teacher Association is a registered 501c3 nonprofit association, and each PTA is subject to laws pertaining to that, including, for example, filling out an annual Form 990 with the IRS, and not using PTA funds to benefit an individual. Your local PTA is connected to Texas PTA and National PTA, and within that structure, each PTA is an independent association. This means that the members of the PTA make the decisions about bylaws, elections, and budgets. The PTA can and should partner with the school, but the school administration is not in charge. Your PTA should focus on implementing PTA's mission, which is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. I'd like to start by talking more about the mission. Marissa, how does this mission drive your PTA?
At the end of the day, we as a board always ask ourselves, how does this benefit our students? If the initiative, project, investment, etc. doesn't ladder up to doing the best that we can for our kids, it's not how we want to focus our efforts.
And Tim, how does it benefit your school to have an active and well-run PTA?
I truly believe that PTA is a collaborative partnership with us as educators and at our school. And what I mean by that is that educational policy, strategies, the learning and teaching is so very important, and that's our responsibility. But together with our partners in PTA, that is where our volunteer groups and efforts are really the power behind our school community and offer all the enhancements and additional resources that it takes to really have a vibrant and well-run school.
Marissa, how does it benefit the PTA to have an involved principal on your PTA board?
We are so lucky. I can't tell you how often that I've spoken to other presidents, either at conferences, local networking events, or even at the gym. And the conversation always goes back to their struggle with getting their principal involved. Everything from locking them down to have a quick 15-minute or just to review plans and budgets. Tim and I meet monthly prior to each board meeting to ensure that each other is aligned and up to date on all projects and activities involving both the school and the PTA. We try to be seamless.
The PTA is separate from the school and a guest of the school. So how do the two of you navigate boundaries and expectations to create and maintain a successful school PTA relationship?
Well, as we've said before, we meet regularly and maintain frequent phone and email contact with each other. I act as a conduit between the school and the PTA board, and I think this close relationship we have benefits the larger PTA. And honestly, sometimes situations do arise when maybe the school and PTA may have two different visions on how an event or a project might go. And it's our job to work together to find compromises that satisfy both groups. So top line, that's how we navigate things. And I honestly don't feel that I am a guest, more of an extension of the school. Even physically, we have a PTA workroom in the building that we use for meetings, storage, activities, and more. That is a shared space that both the staff and PTA use.
And for me, I share a very similar view with Marissa, but I'll add in a little bit more about specifically what P and T mean. To me, the P, of course, means parents, which in our extended definition of that in today's society means guardians, family members, everyone really. I've always said that anyone that believes in the benefit and the best of children and students in public education or should be a member of PTA. And we really carry that forth in the P piece of PTA. Also, I think the T is important, and T has, of course, meant describing teachers, but that too is more wide-ranging with administrators, support staff, just really anyone that's an educator that's, again, part of this collaborative association. So I see them not as guests, but as equal partners. To me, all stakeholders, whether it be the students themselves, family members or staff members, or even our broader community patrons, we're all in this together to provide for the best of the kids, really creating a great public educational situation for them and for our families, that they're going to be a part of it equally and equitably, and that they really feel valued and embraced as a partner in their education of their students.
Let's talk a little more about the PTA mission, because this is what drives the PTA. So again, the PTA mission is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. So concerning advocacy, since its early days, PTA has been active in advocating for the health and well-being of all children. Some of our recent efforts in Texas have included increasing the age to purchase tobacco products to 21, reducing end-of-course exams from 15 to 5, and increasing funding for school safety and student mental health. So advocacy is an important part of our mission, and the reason we promote membership is that our numbers give us a strong voice to do our advocacy work locally, statewide, and nationally. So Tim, Texas PTA is a visible presence at the state capitol during every legislative session, and particularly on PTA Rally Day.
Absolutely, Julie, and I believe that speaks volumes in the sheer number of people who participate in Rally Day as a specific example. All of us, again, any member of PTA and anyone who is a friend of PTA can participate in that event. And I do truly believe, as we're told here as a district and within the Texas PTA structure, that numbers and volumes of people really tell our legislators that we care about students, their specific needs, and the overall benefits of public education. So I like advocating not only as a Texas PTA Board of Directors member, but also as an elementary school principal, because I wear dual hats. And it's very important for me to know that both of us have a voice, PTA and public schools, in what's being decided legislatively across our state for all of our students and our schools. And I believe that Texas PTA truly leads that way, but more specifically, it's the members within PTA that drive that force home.
Marissa, PTA is nonpartisan and does not support or oppose candidates for any office. That would be considered political activity and could jeopardize a PTA's 501c3 status. So how should a PTA approach advocacy?
Well, as you said, we do not support specific candidates in any elections that are going on either at the local, the state, or the national level. But we do support the initiatives, laws, etc. that benefit all children. So we're not going to sway our families to vote one way or another, but we do provide and supply information that they need to be well-informed voters.
Part of the PTA's mission is to provide family engagement opportunities. What do we mean by family engagement, and how does this benefit students?
Obviously, an active and involved family is one that knows what's going on at their school, both at the staff level, the school level, and what's going on with their children. So I think by providing family engagement opportunities, it gives them a chance to interact with staff, teachers, and even other parents and kids so they can feel informed and comfortable to be asking questions or having dialogues to know what's going on from both the school and PTA level. Also, that's a good way to show them where their PTA dollars go. It's very visible. We have a few family engagement opportunities we have Lunch and Learns, which is an opportunity for parents to come in and ask questions and learn about what's going on currently in the school. And we also have school-wide events that are sponsored by PTA dollars, but benefit all families, not just those that are members of the PTA.
Tim, sometimes people think of PTA as a fundraising organization, but fundraising is not mentioned in the PTA mission statement.
And Julie, there's a good reason for that. Because that is not what PTA exists for. And honestly, I shirk every time that anyone else in our world states out loud, well, just go ask PTA for it. They've got the money. They can write you a check. And after I shirk and catch my breath and regroup, I really go to that person and say, that's really not the purpose of PTA. certainly PTA would be willing to collaborate with you on discussing opportunities for fundraising, grant proposals, seeking other sources for our funds. But please do never go and ask PTA simply for a check to pay the bill of anything, because that is not the purpose or the meaning behind our association.
So I think that gives us a good overview of PTA. And now let's talk about how PTA functions at a campus level. Who is on the executive board and what are the board's responsibilities? And in particular, what is the principal's role on the board?
The executive board meets monthly. We meet at the first Thursday of every month to go over the opportunities and plans for that month. As part of the executive board, we have myself as president, the secretary, the treasurer, our VP of membership, our VP of fundraising, our VP of programs, as well as several other members of the board who participate in the events that are going on that month. We always have our parliamentarian on hand as well to ensure that we are following all of the bylaws. We meet every month and several times also throughout the year to monitor the PTA activities, monitor spending, and figure out the best way to use the PTA dollars and PTA programs that we have at our resources. One of the reasons why it is helpful to have both a teacher and principal representative on the board is so we can ensure we're making most of the resources and events at the school. So that way we're making sure that we're not overlapping activities, that if, for example, we have an upcoming program like Reflections, we can then in turn work with what's going on at the curriculum level to make sure that everyone is working in tandem together.
And the precise makeup of an individual PTA board can vary according to what your campus needs.
Absolutely. We do have several chairs that attend the board meetings, including communications, so they can ensure that they're hearing everything firsthand and they know what needs to be communicated out to the parents and the PTA members. But also, various times of years, there might be a certain major event going on or a certain initiative, so we need to have them as an integral part of those conversations.
Every PTA has bylaws and sometimes standing rules. Why are those so important?
Well, I believe that those documents really guide and really kind of keep you in line with what you're supposed to be doing, help keep your focus, the intention of your purpose and why you exist. And so, yes, some people, including myself at times, could find them cumbersome, a lot to deal with, but truly the value in them is to let us know how we should be operating and functioning, how to do that appropriately and legally, and really have a consistency across the years in our, when our membership changes constantly, to have that consistency about how you should be functioning as a PTA. That is really a resourceful based and collaborative association part of the campus operations.
And we don't change those bylaws and standing rules often. There's a reason that they're in place so we can keep everything consistent.
So let's talk about spending and budgets. The PTA spends its funds, as we've said, in ways that support the PTA mission. So STEM nights, parent education programs that increase the engagement of parents, teacher appreciation, leadership training, and so forth. And this will vary based on what your PTA decides your community needs. At the beginning of the year, each board member submits a plan of work, which is voted on by the board to ensure that board members agree with the scope of work for each position. And the plans of work are tied to the budget, which is approved by the membership. And what happens from there?
From there, we follow the course of the calendar of the year. So sometimes things arise where we have to revisit a plan or revisit a budget. In that situation, we meet as a board and we discuss if any modifications need to be made. For example, we implemented a new program this year and we set a budget to it. However, as the course of the year went on, we realized that it was becoming more of a successful program than we had anticipated. So we needed to adjust that budget. In that case, we as a board voted and approved to increase a certain budget. We then, in turn, had to go to our general membership at our general membership meeting and allow the membership to vote and approve on that budget change as well. So it's not something where just a group of people sit in a room and they make arbitrary decisions about how dollars should be made. Everything's very transparent.
And I'll add that what I like that's very similar in nature is that the PTA budget process here at Liberty is very much like the school budget process that we utilize. It's thought out, it's planned, it's discussed, and the funds are really placed into specific line items and categories where they belong to facilitate and nurture the intended expenses to carry out our activities and events as a campus and a PTA that supports and is collaborative with the campus. And so I like that we don't just willy-nilly, if you will, collect money and then spend it without direction or purpose, that there is a lot of thought and planning put into it. And that as we go through the school year, I see as principal, both our school budget and of course, sitting on the board for PTA, that we don't often have changes to our budget. We don't have to make amendments to them because we've really done the forefront work, if you will, to really plan that out and make great choices based on both our history of what we've done in the past and new initiatives like Marissa mentioned that we'd like to try in the current school year and possibly in the future.
Absolutely. Budget planning is all done based on historicals and after thorough strategic discussions.
One of the advantages of being a PTA is that you can benefit from the Texas PTA and National PTA structure as well as their resources. So in Texas, many PTAs are part of a council of PTAs that's organized by school district, city, or county, or a larger geographical area. And those councils and their PTAs are assigned a field service representative. And even independent PTAs that are not part of a council have an FSR. And that person is trained by Texas PTA to answer many of the questions that come up. And both National PTA and Texas PTA provide additional resources to help PTA leaders as well. What are the training requirements for leaders in Texas PTAs, and what other resources are available?
Well, I do appreciate that not only as a board of directors member, but also as a principal and really basically a PTA member, that we're increasing our online training opportunities. There have always been trainings provided by PTA to its leadership and its membership, and it's both broad in the knowledge of PTA, such as bylaws and standing rules, mission, the vision. But also I like how we are becoming more dedicated to the specific roles in PTA, the different officers, the different members, and what our responsibilities are to carry those out. So certainly this recording is an opportunity to provide that information, but our resource guides that are offered through Texas PTA, the information and how that is further enhanced by the FSRs is very important. And what's really great is that we have a wonderful Texas PTA staff that are readily available throughout the week. They are very knowledgeable and dedicated to their service to PTA. And we're very fortunate to not only be able to contact them by phone or email or whatever, but also too, they're maintaining an excellent website of links and resources and information to guide all of us in our PTA operations and functioning. And then also too, connect us as members across the state. So we may have our own perspectives functioning at a local or district level, but under the auspices of a state and national standards. But part of that collaboration, if you will, amongst us is that we can be connected with members across the state and like districts and locals and unlike and dissimilar locals and districts. So you can really get a flavor of how other people are operating. And the value I see in that is that you go into it knowing how you operate and what your goals and visions are as a local or a district council. You get to hear the opinions and ideas of others, and certainly within the parameters of PTA, you can make decisions about how you can change your own operational viewpoint or standing based on that information you get from them or not. And so I think the trainings that are available and the information that's available are on point and specific, but they're also too in the flexibility of just meeting with individual members and having conversations, discussions with them. I'm also very proud as the principal at Liberty and a member of our executive board here in our district for our council that we as a local unit and as a council have been sending members to the state and national levels for many years. And the events like Launch, National Convention and Expo, And really, we focus when we go to maximize the use of our funds and our time by attending the informational learning sessions, visiting with and networking with other PTA members and leadership at the different levels. And I find this all very beneficial, not only to increase our knowledge and information about PTA, but also our part in it and the value that we receive as individual members and that value that we can instill in others who are members.
One reason PTA is so well known and well respected is that it has a long history of helping children. Marissa, why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of National PTA?
Absolutely. Well, it had nothing to do with fundraising and bake sales, I can tell you that much. It was all about the children who were at risk. Alice McClellan Burney and Phoebe Apperson Hearst founded the organization when women did not have the right to vote and social activism was not popular. However, they believed mothers would support their mission to eliminate threats that endangered children. So in early 1897, they started a nationwide campaign.
And Tim, why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of Texas PTA?
Ella Carruthers Porter founded the first Mothers Club in Hillsboro, Texas, and was chartered in 1909. Since that time, Texas PTA has led the charge to protect children in Texas. Our first office was actually in the basement of the state capitol. Today, we have a state-of-the-art office on West 11th Street in Austin, where we conduct training year-round.
And PTA's vision remains the same as it was over a century ago, for every child's potential to be a reality. We hope that everyone has found this information to be helpful. For more information, you can go to txpta.org or call 1-800-TALK-PTA.